Breaking news in the National Football League. Longtime Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan has been traded away to the Indianapolis Colts for a 2022 third-round draft pick. The Las Vegas Raiders are going all in so far this offseason as they have acquired longtime Green Bay Packers wide receiver Devontae Adams in a trade. They also signed pass rusher Chandler Jones. Last week, finally, after a year and a half of the Deshaun Watson drama, it is finally over. He has found a new home. During the week, Watson had his trading options down to two, the Saints or the Falcons. But Watson swerved us all as he was traded away to the Cleveland Browns for a $235 million contract. However, Watson also faces 22 civil lawsuits. If he is found guilty, he will be suspended for the first 12 games of the upcoming season. We also recap the action in the NBA, and we also recap the action of the first weekend of the 2022 Men's College Basketball Tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime! From the gridiron to the court, talking all that is sports. Members of the Busted Up Nation bring to you our Nation Sports Show. Here are your hosts, Ezra Vickery, Joey Thornton, Kevin Rorie, Randy Giron, and Stephen Wyand.
Every time I hear the end of that intro, I feel like I'm in a cave somewhere. Hello, 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 hello.
What's up?
What a way to start off the show. Let's do this.
Yeah, hey.
Already ripping into Steven. That's how we do things. Welcome to our Nation Sports Show, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We are live once again. Oh, it is good to be here. We got a lot to talk about. NFL free agency has been wild, and we cannot wait to get into that, plus baseball news. Plus, of course, all sports, of course, NCAA March Madness we got to talk about. We got to talk about a little bit of basketball as well. Let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get the specifics out of the way so that way we can get to the show. All right. First off, you can follow us out, of course, on our social media at @ON_sports show on Twitter, Facebook.com/Our Nation Sports Show, and, of course, Instagram.com/Our Nation Sports Show as well. You can also follow us also, of course, on the youtube.com. Excuse me. Search Our Nation Sports Show in the search bar. We're getting close to that 100 subscriber mark. Come on, guys. Help us get there. That way we can get a custom URL, which makes it easier for you guys to find us and for us to share content with you. Especially when it comes to linking pages and linking our stuff to our social medias, it helps out in the long run. But enough of that shtick. Also, don't forget to follow, of course, Two Sweet Cosplay, my crew at Two Sweet Cosplay on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And follow, of course, Tenacious Corner on all their socials as well. And, of course, watch them every Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Tenacious Corner. But let's get right into it, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Let's go ahead and introduce the crew here. First off, we got our very happy Oakland Raiders fan this week after getting themselves a big signing, which we'll talk about shortly. That is, of course, my buddy Randy Giron. Randy, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm on cloud nine. I looked at the thing at the beginning, and I'm in the intro now. I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm in the intro. I feel like when they change the intro for Monday Night Raw and they add superstars, different ones when different guys leave and stuff. I always watch it. I always catch it, and I caught myself on there. I shed a tear.
Hey, kid, you're over.
But yeah, the road to the Super Bowl may go through Vegas, but that's just because it's just on the way. But the Raiders are getting there. I'm telling you, and I just I couldn't believe the news when I heard they got him and all that good stuff. But we'll get to that. But thanks for having me as always, and good to see you guys. And should be a great show.
Absolutely, man. All right, let's bring in our next guy here. Of course, he is a very happy Atlanta Braves fan after the big news that happened last week, which we covered. But this week, I don't know if he's a good Washington Commanders fan after the signings they made and decisions they made. We'll find that out soon. I heard rumors they're getting Baker Mayfield, by the way.
Oh dear God, no.
JT Joseph Thornton, what is going on, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. And I'm also on cloud nine a little bit because I saw that my graphic is on the show, and I'm like, yo, that is badass right there, man.
That is dope.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show with you guys. And hey, we got to start off with some bad news again. Great sportscaster and sports writer John Clayton has fallen to he's passed on to a new life now. And my condolences go out to his former co-workers and his family, his friends. I know we're going to talk about it just a little bit, but my condolences to the late, great John Clayton.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go ahead and bring in our next guy here. He is our overall sports expert here on the show. And he is, I would say, pretty agitated over some picks, and we will definitely get into that throughout the show. And that is, of course, my buddy here, Kevin Rorie. What's up, dude?
What's going on? I'm going to ignore all that crap and hope everybody's doing good out there, and I ain't worried about my team. I'm just happy to be on the show and talk all sports with you guys. That's all that matters.
Absolutely. By the way, breaking news real quick is just confirmed Baker Mayfield has signed with the 49ers.
Don't you start that shit. April Fools comes early, don't it?
I couldn't resist. This is even better than Cam Newton. This is even better than Cam Newton going to the New York Giants. Oh my God.
Yes. Thank God I got rid of that bullshit.
Yeah, thank God. Next up on the docket, and finally, is the matriarch of this show. Without this dude, this show wouldn't be possible. The one, the only heavy metal brother from North Kakalaki, as I always say, man who just saw Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and Conspirators the other night.
Oh yeah,
none other than Stephen Wyand. Stephen, what's going on, man?
What is up, man? That was an awesome show in Durham, North Carolina on Saturday night. The entire band was just on fire. Oh yeah, it was a great show. Just awesome band, awesome set list. I've been getting into their Slash's solo stuff here recently, and forgot how good it is, man. And he's got some great stuff. And enough of that. Let's get into some sports, man, because what a wild week it's been. NFL, college basketball tournament, and there might be a rant down the road on this show today. So let's go.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome! I cannot wait for the show. Especially with the rants, Steven. Your rants are legendary. We'll say that much. I mean, I've never seen that. I haven't really seen that much anger in one person since the beginning of Monday Night Raw's downfall. But we'll talk about that on another show. We got to, of course, start off with the unfortunate news of the passing of one of the greatest sportscasters of all time, that being the one, the only John Clayton. John Clayton's been covering sports, more specifically football, way past my time, that's for sure. He's been around for a long time covering the West Coast scene, including more specifically Seattle, where he has really, really hitched his wagon to the Seattle Seahawks, where he's been honored numerous times by the team and all that stuff. But he's a great sportscaster, tells it like it is, was very bold in his approach. And of course, for me, Steven, and Randy, and maybe a few others who have been on the show in the past, the one thing we loved about John Clayton was he had a sense of humor, a great personality, and he was also a heavy metal fan.
Yes.
More specifically, the band Slayer. If you guys remember the famous "This Is Sports Center" commercial,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and the
That was
pants
the
out there,
best.
stripping away the half suit and a Slayer t-shirt on with his long hair down his back, screaming, "Mom, I'm done with my segment!" Sitting there in the bed eating Chinese food as heavy metal's blaring.
Yes, that was the best.
It was incredible. It was incredible to see that John Clayton was not only flying the flag for football as he always does, but flying the flag of metal, especially for us metal fans. And luckily got to meet the band Slayer before his passing and before Slayer also retired. That's amazing. So he was able to
so metal.
get backstage in 2016, which was awesome. So from my end, just want to say, John was a cool guy, it seemed like, and it's sad that he's gone, and the entire sports world, especially football world, is mourning. And we here at Our Nation Sports Show send our condolences to the family, friends, and other fans of the great John Clayton. Steven?
Man, what a great guy he was on television and the radio. I mean, he was everywhere. I mean, just whatever news came down the pipeline, he was right there to break the news. And that is just so badass. I mean, a football reporter at a metalhead, yes, please. I mean, just super cool. I mean, he seemed like a very great guy, and just did a lot of great things for football and all that good stuff. And just, gonna miss his reports and his sense of humor, like you said. And our condolences and thoughts and prayers go out to his friends and family, during this difficult time. And hell of a guy.
And not to mention, one of my favorite things to watch regarding John Clayton was his 4-down segment, which he had with Sean Salisbury. Oh gosh, I mean, those two were barking each other's heads off because they were going back and forth with each other, and it was just awesome. I enjoy watching every single segment between those two.
Ooh, yeah.
John Clayton is going to be missed.
Absolutely, man. John Clayton was one of a kind, and we're all going to miss him here on the Nation Sports Show. Godspeed, sir. All right. Before we get into sports, we got to send a big congratulations to the one, the only La Meta Meta herself, Thunder Rosa.
Yes.
AEW Women's. Of course, the Nation's Corner is a sponsor of Mission Pro Wrestling, and we couldn't be remiss if our Nation Sports Show didn't say, congratulations to the brand new AEW Women's World Champion. Now she's going to represent the company. She's going to represent women's wrestling in general, and wrestling in general. And we cannot wait to see, as the entire wrestling world is, what the next big challenge will be for Thunder herself. And congratulations to her, along with her entire family, friends, and of course the entire Mission Pro roster. Now that they're basically their head lady is the world champion of this, to many the best wrestling company on the planet. Period. So
that cage match was so good last Wednesday. It was the culmination 1 year, almost to the exact day, of the epic lights out match last year on St. Patrick's Day Slam. I mean, that cage match was just amazing. I mean, told a great story. Thumbtacks in the end. It made total sense. And for all you idiots out there saying that is fake, get the hell out of here. I mean, come on.
Dumb.
Come on. Just a great match. Both women, busted their ass in that cage, had a great match, and it was just great. And the fact that Thunder was able to beat Baker in her hometown. And can I just say real quick that mariachi band was ultra badass? I mean, that was so cool, coming out and playing live in front of that audience in San Antonio. I mean, it was just so cool for, that to happen. And it was just super epic. And then when Justin Roberts said, from Tijuana, Mexico, fighting now, living in San Antonio.
Fighting out of.
Yeah, fighting out of San Antonio. Dude, that place lost their collective shits. It was amazing. I mean, just amazing response from that crowd. And Britt Baker had no love really in that room. As soon as her music hit, that place was booing her. I mean, when there was very little DMD chance, but predominantly 95% of that crowd was all Thunder. Amazing. Great job, Thunder. Glad you're the champion.
Hey, it almost kind of reminds me of what happened 10 years ago when CM Punk fought Chris Jericho at Extreme Rules in a Chicago street fight in front of Punk's hometown fans and crowd, friends and family.
But it also reminded me, too, of when Punk went into Chicago at Money in the Bank 2011 against John Cena for the WWE Championship.
Yep.
And just the godlike response that Punk got when he came out to the ring and when he won the belt. I mean, just amazing. I mean.
And of course, you can't forget about CM Punk's debut on AEW in front of his hometown crowd in Chicago.
I was there. Yep, I was there. But that's for another show to discuss that again. But yeah, once again, congratulations to Thunder Rosa on a huge win. We're all proud of you. We're all happy for you, and we can't wait to see how this championship reign takes shape. But we got to get going, guys. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into the NFL free agency, and what a wild ride it truly has been. And we're going to start off with one of the biggest stories, and this is the one I know it's a hot topic, especially in this group, and that is the signing of Deshaun Watson to the certain team that is, I think they're in, I believe they are in Cleveland. I believe their name is the Browns.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm joking completely. I'm joking. Deshaun Watson signed a $230 million deal with the Cleveland Browns after being traded there. In response, his old team got Marcus Mariota, who is, of course, former backup quarterback, former starter and backup quarterback in Tennessee. So I know this has been a hot topic for you guys, especially Steven and a few others. I wanted to get your thoughts on the signing of Deshaun Watson. You know what? I was going to have one of you guys start. You know what, Steven? You have a lot to say. I know you have a point you want to make. The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, it's a shitty move by Cleveland to do this. I mean, you get this guy, and he hasn't done nothing in the playoffs. I mean, mind you, he was with the Houston Texans in 2020 during the playoffs that year in 2019 when they took on Kansas City and they blew the 24-0 lead. And last year, all of that saga, the drama, the lawsuits by all these women, and then finally a year and a half goes by, and they're not going to charge him with the main charges. However, as Tommy Dreamer would say, if he is found guilty on these other 22 civil lawsuits, he will be suspended for the first 12 games of next year. Now, I understand that Cleveland wanted him. Okay, whatever. So they got their quarterback in Kevin. I do agree with you on that Cleveland, regardlessly, will still have their guy if he is suspended. Okay, whatever. But here's the biggest problem. You're paying him $230 million guaranteed? Bullshit. Why would you pay somebody that kind of money when he hasn't done nothing consistently in his career so far, as far as staying healthy, playing consistently, and even better, winning in the playoffs? If the Los Angeles Rams decided to give Matthew Stafford a big fat contract, okay, whatever. Why? Because Stafford got it done. Kansas City gave Patrick Mahomes that kind of money because he won the Super Bowl, and he's been consistent throughout his first couple of years as a starter with Kansas City. What has Deshaun Watson done in his career? Nothing. He does not deserve this money. If they wanted to pay him $80 million, all right, whatever. $75 million, all right, whatever. 60, you get it. But $230 million guaranteed money? As Joey would say, what the hell, bro? Cleveland, are you out of your freaking minds? Have you bumped your head on the ceiling? I mean, my God, this is a total bad contract. If he wanted out of Houston, that's fine. That's totally fine because Houston was not going to keep him. You know, after all the bullshit they've had to go through the past year and a half with this drama and all this stuff. So I'm glad that he's out of Houston, but I'm not happy with this contract. It's just terrible. I mean, because here's my thing, guys. Okay, let's say hypothetically, if he's not suspended for the first 12 games of the upcoming season in the fall, what if he goes out there in his first year and totally flops? Then why are you paying him the money? And it goes to show you, if you give somebody that kind of money, 99.9% of the time, they bomb because that's all they want is money. If he goes out there and he plays consistently, fine. Okay, I'm wrong. But hindsight, looking at this, reading this is a bad contract. Makes no sense. The only way this makes sense for Cleveland is if he is consistent. And oh, by the way, the offensive line last year for Cleveland with Baker Mayfield was not that great. Baker Mayfield was turning the ball over countless times, getting sacked a lot. You have to keep your quarterback upright, not on his ass. If Deshaun Watson's offensive line cannot block for him and do diddly squat, then he will end up on his back, getting sacked, turning the ball over, getting flustered by defenses. Because let me tell you, fellas, the AFC as a whole next year, we know this, the AFC next year might be possibly the top conference for the upcoming season in the fall. I mean, you got the Las Vegas Raiders, you got the Los Angeles Chargers, you got the Broncos, you got the Chiefs making moves, Cincinnati correcting their offensive line issues. Cleveland is giving this guy $230 million. It makes no sense. I don't know why they did it. Clearly, Mayfield wants side of Cleveland. He should go to San Francisco to piss off Kevin. That's a different story for a different day. But I'm done with this. I'm done with this bullshit. The hell with you, Cleveland. You've been shit for the past 20-some-odd years since you've been back in Cleveland, and you're going to continue to be shit with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. How fitting. He's wearing orange after all. He should have been locked up, but he wasn't. He's wearing orange. Hallelujah. The football gods have spoken. He's wearing orange. God bless you, Deshaun Watson. You deserve to be shit for the next 5+ years with Cleveland. I'm done.
Well, he is with the Browns, so it makes sense if he's shit. Let me just clarify Let me just clarify one thing. In that trade, the Cleveland got six picks for the next couple of years. They got 2 picks for this year, 1 first round, 1 fourth round. They got 2 picks for 2023, 1 first round and 1 third round. Then they got 2 more picks for 2024, first round and fourth round picks for Mr. Deshaun Watson. So that's a full trade on that. Anybody else want to speak about this?
Well, Steven, I can honestly, I agree with where you're coming from about the contract. Do I think it was a reach? Oh, yeah, definitely. Because the Browns, and I think that has to do with the Browns hasn't had a good quarterback since early in the 1900s, basically. They ain't been shit. So they get their opportunity, they jump on it. Where I do disagree with
Elder was still there.
Okay, but where I disagree is the talent wise. Okay, here you listen. If y'all can name me 6 current quarterbacks right now who are more talented, I'll cash app each one of you $50 right now. Be honest, because the playoff point is not really accurate because. Stafford basically went to a super team. Duh, he had it made. Yeah, he made the plays in the playoffs, but what the fuck did he did with a Hall of Famer and Calvin Johnson? Did Deshaun Watson have a Hall of Famer? DeAndre Hopkins on the fence. But so that point really doesn't really pan out too well because you can make the same case for Russell Wilson. What the fuck did he did after his defense won him a Super Bowl in 2013? What did he do in 14?
Offensive line.
What he do in 15? Choke that away. What he do 16, 17, 18? Ain't did shit. So that point is really not valid to me. But Watson, when I look at him and I look like, let's just assume he's going to pick up where he left off in 19. 2019 with Brandon Cooks and Kenny Stills, scrubs basically at wide receiver, he led the NFL in passing with no defense. No offensive line in Houston. Sorry ass Bill O'Brien led the league in passing yards. So all I'm saying is, from a talent standpoint, if he can play at that level with Nick Chubb behind him, with a top 10 defense in the NFL led by Myles Garrett and all-pro corner Denzel Ward, if he can get, from what I read reports, both coincidentally, Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry want to return to Cleveland. Tells you what the problem was fucking Baker Mayfield. Now OBJ goes and have an all-pro year with the Rams. He wants to come back to Cleveland now that Baker's gone. Jarvis Landry's interested in returning to Cleveland. They traded for Amari Cooper. Do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No, I don't. They're in that conference. They're in the toughest conference, and it's going to be hard to even get past the wild card round for any team in that conference next year. But the point, I don't think he deserves $230 million. He hasn't proved it yet. You're right. But from a talent standpoint, he's top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Is
the only
talented?
quarterbacks I can say that are absolutely better quarterbacks right now are obviously Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, and Josh Allen. That's it. Burrow is neck and neck with him right now, but I don't think he's better yet. I think Watson is an elite top 5 quarterback. And his play on the field shows. And I'm not going to sit up here and get into the political standpoint from it or off the field issues, because everybody has their own bits and says, but it's just really suspicious that none of this shit comes up until he gets sick of Bill O'Brien's shit in Houston and says, hey, I want out. And coincidentally, the owner of the Houston Texans, his brother is the attorney for all coincidental 22 women in this lawsuit. Not saying he did or didn't. And I just think this is a whole bunch of holes in this story that does not add up. And whether he's innocent or guilty, I'm sorry, but Roger Goodell's going to suspend him just because that's the way the league is. I mean, They go off. It don't matter what he did. He could not do it and still get suspended 4 to 8 games. It don't make no sense how the league works, but that's just Roger Goodell trying to protect his money coming in, because he's scared that people's going to stop watching because they let an accused at this moment, an accused sexual predator play, whatever you call them, whatever. It's just the point that Cleveland's risking a lot. I agree, but they do have a slight chance, and y'all can hate it. They have a slight chance for it to pay out. Let's say they do scrap this season because he does get suspended. Mm-hmm. Next year, they still have Cooper for 3 more years. They still have Nick Chubb locked down. They can improve their O-line. Yeah, you're right. They could go and get another receiver by next year's time. They still got Garrett, Denzel Ward, John Johnson III, and elite safety. They got the core to still be good or try to be good. It's just whether Cleveland wants to be Cleveland. That's just down to it. Not Watson,
still got,
not
Kareem Hunt, right?
It's Cleveland wants to be Cleveland. That's just all there is to that.
They still got Kareem Hunt at running back, right?
Yeah, they got Kareem.
Yeah. They got the talent, and that's the issue that, like you brought up great points. What did Stafford do in Detroit? Nothing. Why? What did Russell Wilson do in his last couple of years with Seattle? Didn't do nothing, because predominantly it was because of the offensive line. The offensive line is the biggest problem. And Cleveland has a great target in Cooper at wide receiver. And you got a great point there, Kevin, because, I mean, let's just say if Landry and OBJ do come back to Cleveland, well, then the problem was Baker Mayfield, because Mayfield had all that flash, as far as, all the name power, basically. And he let all the commercials and all that stuff get to him. Oh, I'm in commercials. He wasn't consistent last year. And I think Watson is better than Mayfield, but they got to correct the offensive line. And the thing about it is, regardlessly, they're going to be better than Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to be the worst team in the AFC North this upcoming season.
Definitely.
Hell, I will go on record and saying if Baltimore doesn't correct their stuff, I think Cleveland could surpass Baltimore. If Watson doesn't get suspended, hopefully he doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Because you want to see talent on the field, and that's going to play in the Cleveland season. If he gets suspended, I think Watson is in a better spot because he does have a better weapons on the offensive end and Amari Cooper and Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but it's just the contract. That's the problem. The contract.
Oh yeah.
That's the biggest issue is the contract.
But see, I got another quarterback too. And I think you'll all laugh at this one, who hasn't done a fucking thing. How about Aaron Rodgers? What the fuck has he done in the playoff? Let's see, 0-4 against San Francisco. Not a damn thing. Get put in the ground in the NFC Championship game about 4 or 5 times. Not a damn thing. But there's one move that Cleveland also made after this trade that I really like that goes under the radar that nobody talks about. Cleveland signed an elite backup. I'm not saying he's going to be a starter worthy, but Jacoby Brissett has stepped in some big games for Miami, for New England, and has won them football
for the Colts
games
as well.
So I believe
pretty damn good with the Colts.
I like that signing. He can come win some games for them if he has to. At least come in and play not like shit, not like how Baker and them played last year. He can at least hold the fort down if the suspension was to be upheld.
But you know what? Cleveland's doing the right thing. They're basically covering their asses, in a bad situation if Watson is suspended. Because if Jacoby has to start, well, then you got a quarterback that can actually play because he's had all those games with New England and Miami and the Colts. I mean, so good move. Cleveland's making the right moves, So, I mean, they're making the right moves. It's just the contract. It makes no sense.
No, I think as far as like you're saying Watson over Mayfield or anything like that, or he was since Beckham left and they, he did great. If Baker was the problem or not, my cat is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. I've seen him throw I've seen him throw his toys around. He throws his toys around like nothing. He's awesome. So
wow.
Yeah. And I just want to say this. Kevin said something pretty funny yesterday at work. Tell him what you said about Mayfield, that he actually did get
which one?
You said he did get
the yard sale?
No. You said he got sentenced.
Oh, not Baker. Deshaun Watson, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Deshaun Watson gets sentenced by the grand jury 5 years of Cleveland Browns. He got sentenced to 5 years to the Cleveland Browns as community service for his actions.
Wow.
Oh,
and they could have sent him to the Lions.
Yeah, that's right.
Could have sent him to the Cowboys. That's like being on death row.
They just got to change the locks on the stadium, or Baker's going to try to stay in there. When he's not there anymore. But I just saw something just now, and this will make everybody in this room happy. That the Panthers aren't even interested in Baker Mayfield. He might as well just go ahead and go out back.
You know what? It's bad when the Panthers ain't even interested in you.
Yeah, I saw that. Wow, I couldn't believe it.
You know what, Randy?
Went on 5 minutes before we went on. It said Panthers not interested. I was like, man, the hits keep coming for that dude. He should have put that flag in the field.
Did y'all hear it the other day? The Texans did not even want Baker Mayfield in that trade package. They said, we'll offer you Baker. They said, nope, no Baker, no can do. We will deny that trade. We don't want Baker. Nope, send us a bunch of draft picks and keep his ass. We don't want him.
Kevin, let me ask you something. All right. Flip a coin, Baker Mayfield or Cam Newton, who is the biggest curse to their football teams? Because they're both bad.
Cam.
Yeah.
Cam
Newton, by far.
But Mayfield's coming in second for sure.
Oh yeah.
But Steven, I will say this last point on my part about that trade. You're right about the contract, because if there's anything we have learned so far over last season and this season, is that contracts, and wealthy contracts at that, will fuck your football team up. Aaron Rodgers is $50 million is what sent Devontae Adams, what we're going to talk later, out the fucking door. Not only that, Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones's big ass contract is why the Chiefs can't do a damn thing in free agency. Their defense is horrendous right now with the loss of Matthew and Ward and the other Hughes and all them guys and Hitchens. They cut basically their whole starting lineup to keep up with their salary cap, and they can't sign nobody else. Like, they're horrendous because why? Patrick Mahomes over 10 years making $500 million is outrageous just to go choke in back-to-back playoffs. I'm not saying he is horrible. No, he's one of the greatest. We know this. But to sit there and lose back-to-back playoff years like he did, I mean, come on now. Take a lesson. Nobody likes Tom Brady. I get that. But Brady did something a lot of people don't do, and he takes a fucking pay cut so they can sign receiver after running back after defense after D-line, this, that, the other, to win. Aaron Rodgers won't fucking do that. Oh, fuck it. Cut my whole team so I can get paid $50 million and go 0-5 against San Francisco in the playoffs. These contracts do not pan out for nobody. I've not seen one contract yet to pan out for someone who needs that money. There ain't no way. You're right about it, Steven.
Hey,
none of this stuff makes no sense. Go ahead.
I have a question, though. Didn't Deshaun Watson sign a really big contract with the Texans prior to all this stuff happening?
4 years,
yes, so, I mean, it's already proof.
$134 million.
Yeah, it's already proof that it's a bad thing to do for him. And another thing, that dude hasn't played. By the time he gets on the field, he'll have not played for 2 whole years.
He hasn't played since January of 2020.
I'm sure. I'm sure he won't have a problem with that. But that's just begging for him to get hurt. So I mean, I agree with the contract. He's definitely not worth it. But but I was thinking that he had signed a really big deal. So
that's a great point.
Need the money. Why would he just not go play at home with his friends and all that good stuff? I mean, he's needed the money. Apparently, he got to pay everybody off. Apparently, so I'm done with that. What do you got, Joseph?
Well, that was actually my main point regarding the whole Deshaun Watson contract situation, because, I mean, you guys have pretty much nailed it on the money. I mean, talent-wise, Deshaun Watson is a top 5 quarterback. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Because, I mean, there are so many great quarterbacks out there, not named Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, but of course, Aaron Rodgers ain't worth 2 flying shits anyways. But I digress. But Deshaun
2011.
Deshaun Watson is the top 5 quarterback. But my main thing about the whole contract is what Kevin just brought up: the fact that so many teams, not just in football, but in various other sports as well, who have offered these wealthy, get rich, big time pay money contracts, and it never fucking pays off. I mean, what more can I say? I gotta say real quick, I am a fan of a team who has had so many bust up free agent moves over the past number of years. You guys probably might remember Fat Albert Hainsworth, who the Redskins signed to a 7-year deal. Couldn't even pass a fucking physical to save his fucking life.
Nope.
And paying all that money to Donovan McNabb when he was on the tail end of his career, and literally just a few weeks ago, paying all of Carson Wentz's $28 million cap salary.
Wow.
I mean, stat-wise, Wentz is not that bad, but stats do not make a man. That's one thing that I've learned about football over the years. Stats do not make the man. The leadership, the atmosphere, the play
on the field,
the play on the field, the decision calling, the playmaking. That's what makes a football player's career on the field.
And most of all, being a leader.
Yes, definitely being a leader. And Carson Wentz, he may have been seen as a leader in the past, but until I actually see that Wentz is like in his right mind, takes the talent that's all around him and actually puts it to good use. I mean, yeah, I'm still going to be a Commanders fan, but I'm technically not going to be a Carson Wentz fan until I see something out of him. I mean, back when we got Alex Smith, I was kind of on the fence about it at first, but then Alex Smith goes out and has a couple great seasons for us up until he broke his leg. But even when he came back from that broken leg, Alex Smith was able to deliver some great games. I mean, Alex Smith, whether he was in San Francisco, Kansas City, Washington, it don't matter where he was, Alex Smith was seen as a leader.
That's
and and until I see something from Carson Wentz, I don't know what to say about him. And as far as the whole Cleveland situation, I mean, I hope Cleveland realizes what they have done, giving up all those draft picks. I mean, yeah, I understand Houston wanted at least 3 first-round picks, and I kind of see why, because like you said earlier, Deshaun Watson is the top 5 quarterback, but we may not see Deshaun Watson, like we all have said, until week 13 of this season when he comes back from his 12-game suspension, because knowing Roger Goodell, if a player faces that many civil lawsuits at one time, he's going to get suspended. Whether it be 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, 10 games, 12 games, whatever. I mean, if a player faces that many civil lawsuits at one time, he's going to get suspended.
Here's my biggest concern with not only Watson's move to Cleveland. This is my biggest concern for the NFL in general. So Matthew Stafford last year goes to the Los Angeles Rams in a trade from the Detroit Lions. Had success, but the Rams made all of those gambling moves, those big signings, trades during last year's season, and it did pay off. My biggest concern for the NFL going forward is you're going to have a franchise, it could be any franchise that is desperate for a Super Bowl championship, that is going to try to go out there and pay all of these players, no matter if it's big contracts or taking on their current deals and just taking the hit. That's my biggest concern with these franchises that haven't won a Super Bowl either in a long time or that have never won a Super Bowl. They're going to go out there and spend all of this money. Basically, this is kind of like what the NBA was for so many years, these big threes. This is my biggest concern with the NFL is you're going to start seeing all these franchises that haven't been successful and stuff in years are going to take a gamble to go out there and sign a top 5, top 10 quarterback, receiver, running back, you name it, defensive player. And they're going to gamble to try to win it all and then in the next season.
Exactly. And I know we're fixing to talk about this, but I'm going to go in and pitch my 2 cents in for this upcoming news story that we're probably going to talk about in just a minute. But the whole Matt Ryan situation, him being traded from Atlanta to Indianapolis. I mean, yeah, Matt Ryan he was the leader of the Falcons for a long time. And how can you blame the guy? He leads the Falcons in passing yards. He leads them in passing touchdowns. Matt Ryan, he had so many great seasons based on completion percentage, but In 2016, whenever the Falcons gave up that 28-3 lead to the Patriots in the Super Bowl, that's when Matt Ryan's leadership, in my opinion, started to decline. But despite all that Matt Ryan has done for Atlanta, partially putting it back on the map for so long, for him to get traded to Indianapolis for a fucking third-round pick, I mean, if that's not a spit in the face to Atlanta, then I don't know what the hell is.
You know what's even worse for Atlanta? You know what's even worse for Atlanta? They have to incur a dead cap space of $40.525 million.
Yes.
Which is the largest dead cap hit in NFL history by nearly $7 million.
Oh, dear God. It's just terrible on all counts.
Damn.
I mean, the ownership and the front office of the Falcons were like, well, golly, I mean, I guess we're going to trade Matt Ryan. What are we going to ask for in return? You guys just want to ask for maybe a third-round pick in the draft? Yeah, that'd be fine. I mean, what the fucking hell, bro? I mean, that's letting you know that Matt Ryan wasn't even worth two flying fucking shits for all that he did for y'all. I mean, I'm telling you, this NFL free agency is, oh God, this is definitely one of the wildest I've ever seen, and it's still not done. We still got some big names out there, so who knows? And so who knows what's going to happen in a week's time, seeing as how much we've already seen up to this point.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to think also there's another quarterback that is currently right now working a deal, and that is not to go anywhere but to stay with the team, and that being Jameis Winston. It was announced today by Jeremy Fowler of ESPN that Winston and the Saints are closing in on a 2-year deal for him to stay with New Orleans. But it's trending in the right direction after building off the 5-2 start they had with him last season. So that was announced.
Good for him because he was having a good season last year up until the ACL injury.
Yep.
And also I want to get back into the Falcons discussion real quick because remember, the Falcons are the ones that got Marcus Mariota as their new quarterback.
Oh, dear God.
You know what? All I got to say about the Atlanta Falcons is there's two teams that have really been losing this offseason. And number one, I've done talked about it, the Kansas City Chiefs, because of their cap hit. They ain't been able to do shit while the rest of the AFC West is just skyrocketing past them. And they might be dead last in that division. I'm sorry. But
Kevin, you forget another team.
Worst team. And they might honestly actually surpass the Lions and the Jaguars as the worst. Green Bay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That's the third team. But the worst of the worst might be the worst team in the NFL next season, but with the Jaguars and Texans. And that's the Atlanta Falcons, man. Because like Ezra said, that $40 million dead cap hit on Matt Ryan, they also have to pay another $16 million dead cap hit on Julio Jones. So now you're paying Julio Jones and Matt Ryan to go play for other teams. And here's where I say that I get it. You wanted to go for Deshaun Watson. You swung for the fences, struck out. I get it. But you traded Matt Ryan after the deadline, so now it's poor managing by the front office. It's horrible managing by the front office. And if I'm the Indianapolis Colts, I'm licking my chops because, like I said on the pre-show, even after the Matt Ryan signing trade, they have $40 million in open cap space right now. After the restructured contracts of DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard, they open up $40 million. Tyrann Mathieu in their radar. There's Julio Jones is quoted to be wanting to reunite with Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. And Matt Ryan has a running back now. He has an offensive line now, a good one.
Would you imagine that?
A good one. Matt Ryan has what he needs to do what he's got to do. And think of it like this, that Matt Ryan, like the Colts have literally it's a low risk, big reward kind of situation because all they gave up was a third-round pick, which, let's go back to last week. They traded Carson Wentz for both of Washington's third-round picks. So they basically gave Atlanta one of Washington's third-round picks for Matt Ryan. So now the Colts essentially kept their own third round pick, still got one of Washington's, and get Matt Ryan basically for free, and still have money to go sign more O-line, receiver needs, safety needs, someone like that. You got plenty of money. So the Colts, to me, and this is going out on a limb because I know the Russell Wilson deal, this and that, but the Indianapolis Colts, to me, won this quarterback carousel.
Absolutely.
Because we just discussed about how much this money is and how much people don't want to pay, or like how much money really hurts the team. The Colts basically bargained and hit a home run. You get a leader and former MVP in Matt Ryan. All you need is a quarterback who can make the throws when needed. You have a stud at running back, one of the top two in the whole NFL running the ball. It's your workhorse. He's going to be your bread and butter. All Matt Ryan has to do, convert those third downs. If you could sign Julio, hit Julio. He's a possession receiver. Get it down the field. Matt Ryan, like the Colts have hit a home run in this deal, and they did the best out of any team looking for a quarterback. Didn't give up much or nothing. And I got to say, I'm very impressed with the
and they got nothing to
Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, exactly.
You also got to think if they sign Julio, then you've got the familiarity between Matt Ryan and Julio, which is great chemistry that is needed between a quarterback and a wide receiver. Yes, he'll have to work with those other targets and get them familiarized so that he can throw to them. But if you bring in Julio, you've got that target that Matt Ryan knows very well that can catch those deep balls, that can catch those route passes, and can make plays when they count. And that's exactly what.
And one other thing, of course, this is before any other free agent deals that the Colts have made, but seeing as how that the Falcons are paying the Colts $40.5 million, plus the fact that Washington took $28 million, the whole $28 million out of Carson Wentz's salary. The Colts right there, just for those two quarterbacks, have at least gotten if you add those two numbers up together, $68.5 million in cap space just by the Colts getting money from the Falcons for Matt Ryan and Washington taking Carson Wentz's paycheck. $68.5 million. Imagine what a team can do with all that cap space. Just imagine.
A whole lot of damage can be done with that kind of money.
Absolutely. They can go out and sign Tyrann Mathieu if they wanted to right now.
The Colts have nothing to lose in this situation. You get a top 15 quarterback, top 10 quarterback. If they can get Julio Jones at wide receiver, you've already got your connection. You got a hell of a running back in Jonathan Taylor. The Colts last year were a couple of wins away from making the postseason. And now that you have a quarterback who has playoff experience, he's went to a Super Bowl. Mind you, should have won the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Kyle Shanahan's ignorance. Matt Ryan is a proven winner in this league. And I think this is a hell of a home run that the Colts have hit because they have nothing to lose in this situation. Because even if things not great next year, it sucks for them, but they still didn't lose much.
You also bring in that veteran leadership too that Matt Ryan has. Like you said, he's been there and done that. He's been around the league many years. He's been to the Super Bowl. Yes, he didn't win the Super Bowl like you said, but he still knows how to get there. And that is you know what? This team is young. The Colts team. Most of it is young. They got Jonathan Taylor, like you said, who's an absolute stud at his position, who can run the ball with ease. The guy's a monster. And so to me, with that team, the way the team is a contender team, like, of course, I don't expect them to get Super Bowl within the first year as Matt Ryan as quarterback. No. But I expect them to really make some noise this season and really showcase how big of a threat they can be. It's just a matter of getting the rest of the right pieces together and getting the familiarity between Matt Ryan and his other targets. Once we get that all straightened out, I think Indianapolis could be a major threat in their division and in the conference itself.
Absolutely. And keep in mind that with that cap space that I just talked about, the Colts have Taylor at running back. They got Michael Pittman at receiver. And they also got T.Y. Hilton at receiver, who is actually looking to make a splash of his own after making a huge splash at one point, but then sort of falling apart over the past couple of years. But if the Colts do go out and sign Julio Jones and they wind up getting Tyrann Mathieu as well, I mean, the Colts are going to be at least the AFC South champions this year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I tell you something interesting too about Matt Ryan, and it's kind of satire. It's kind of funny. Matt Ryan's never lost to the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars. Sorry, Carson Wentz and the Colts.
You know what? Moving on from that, before we get into a deep discussion about that.
Yeah, moving on.
We could go on that subject about Jacksonville and everything else for the rest of the show. But let's get into the other big news break, and that is that not about what we're talking about with Devontae, but the big one is that the Rams have locked down Matt Stafford for 5 more years. $163 million deal for 5 more years, which will basically allow Stafford to finish his career in LA. What are your guys' thoughts on the new contract for Mr. Stafford?
Not surprised.
I'm not surprised either, but just real quick before we get into the whole Stafford talk, I gotta say something on here that has made me roll on the floor laughing regarding the Rams. And I think you where I'm about to head here. Former Jacksonville Jaguars head coach Urban Meyer.
Oh God.
Oh God. He has no freaking idea who Aaron Donald is. He was like, who is this 99 overall rated player on Madden that plays for the Rams? I don't know this guy.
Oh, but he knew every girl at the bar that he was at that night.
Yes. Oh man, but yeah.
Like, seriously, has he lost his mind? I think he has.
I mean,
how do you not know?
That's craziness.
How did you not know who Aaron Donald is?
Too. He didn't know Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, but he didn't know Deebo Samuel either.
Did he watch the Super Bowl in 2019 when it was the Chiefs and the Niners? Come on, because Deebo Samuel would have won MVP if San Francisco would have won that Super Bowl.
Yeah. But
Come on.
You have literally the arguably best offensive player in the game and defensive player in the game and don't know neither.
Wow.
Oh,
it just goes to show you that Mr. Meyer spent too much time in the club than watching NFL films and studying these players. Wake up!
That's why Urban Meyer is not back in the college ranks, not as a head coach, but as a board representative for the name, image, and likeness deals.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm usually a Urban Meyer kind of a sympathizer, but I can't wrap my head around the fact that he didn't know who any of those players were.
Excuse me, Mr. Meyer. Do you know who Patrick Mahomes is? No, I don't.
Blows my mind.
The thought that he doesn't know who that is, it grinds my gears more than a woman grinding on his lap at the bar.
Hey.
I just I read that.
But yeah, back to the Stafford contract. I mean, the Rams have finally found their man. Yes, Jared Goff was somewhat halfway decent in his time in St. Louis, but now that the Rams have a Super Bowl championship under their belt, they have found their man in Matthew Stafford. And I don't blame the Rams at all. This was a huge chip on their shoulder because, Stafford would have been under contract this year, but now that he's under contract for 5 more years, knowing that the Rams have Aaron Donald on their defense an absolute stacked defense behind him, even though Von Miller's no longer there because he's in Buffalo. The fact that he has an up-and-coming MVP caliber receiver who actually won the MVP in the Super Bowl. You guys might know him. His name is Cooper Kupp. And the fact that Odell could go back to St. Louis. Well, he could go back to the Rams if he wants to win. If he wants to win another Super Bowl. The Rams did trade Robert Woods to Tennessee, but I'm trying to remember who was.
Well, but also Joe, real quick. So the reason why, and I found out reading through a couple of different reports, is that the reason why they signed him to that specific number was because they didn't want to hit that 200 plus mark like they did with freaking what's his name. So that way they have room to sign players from that Super Bowl team and keep them in LA.
Exactly. And
so
that
it was really, really smart on their money by giving them that specific number of contract because it leaves a little bit of room to be able to sign those other players that were part of that Super Bowl team and keep them in LA.
Exactly. Wow. And that was a smart move by the Rams. Absolutely smart move by the Rams. But yeah, the Rams are going to be seen as a threat for years to come. That's all I got to say about that.
I agree.
But you know what? This contract, like you said though about the contract though, Ezra, this has been a loophole the NBA has been exposing for several years now, and the NFL has been recently. Like Von Miller, I know we ain't talked about it, but signing with Buffalo on a max 6-year deal. He's 30 plus years old. He's not going to play till he's 40. What Buffalo did was year after year, they can restructure his non-guaranteed money to the end of his contract technically so they can open up money. It's a loophole they go through to be able to open up cap space. And that's basically what they did with Stafford, because eventually in about a year or two, they're going to need that money, because I heard around the number that Aaron Donald was going to command over $36 million, the highest paid defensive player in NFL history when he resigns. And that he's well deservingly of it. Oh, yeah. But they got the cap space for it. So they're doing that loophole because we watched LeBron James do it for Cleveland to make super teams, do that loophole. Kevin Durant used that loophole in Golden State, that one and done. Oh, sign a 2-year big deal and opt out after your first year and re-sign another 2-year deal and push all your money back. It's a loophole they use, and it's very smart though. So smart move by the Rams to be able to keep their team intact. So
absolutely,
I agree with it.
Definitely.
Yep.
But Steven, before you go ahead, Steven, with your talk, and then we're going to get quickly. Want to talk about your guys' thoughts on Von Miller re-signing that with that 6-year deal. I want to get to that, but Steven, go ahead. Your thoughts on this whole deal with the LA?
It's a great move. It's a win-win, for them. They won the Super Bowl last year against the Bengals, and now that they can, retain the players on their team. It's a great money move. Hey, spending your money wisely. Imagine that. Learn that, Cleveland. As far as structuring your contracts.
If only baseball could take notice of that.
Yeah, exactly. Because the way the Rams played this, they played this correctly. Because Stafford has finally found his home, and they can re-sign all the players on their team, basically, and get some new pieces if they wanted to. They're not going to take a huge hit. Because, like you said, at the loophole, Kevin, and it's a win-win for LA. So good for them and good for Stafford, especially because, the man lost for so many years in Detroit, not had a complete team around, and then he goes to the Rams in his first year, wins the Super Bowl. And I'm happy for the guy. He deserves it.
Yeah. Like you were saying, like I wanted to get into quickly Von Miller before we get into Devontae Adams and then move on to a little bit of some March Madness talk. Von Miller, of course, signed with Buffalo for 6 years for $120 million. So I know you mentioned right off the bat, Kevin, and that he is an older player. He's not going to play till he's 40 because of this is just the way it is. I want to get your guys' thoughts on that quickly before we move on to Devontae Adams and talk about him signing with the Raiders.
Well,
I like it.
I just got one thing to say about it. Buffalo already has a stacked offense with Josh Allen and all those other playmakers that he has around him. So now Buffalo is doing the smart thing and starting to stack up on their defense. So that just lets you know that Buffalo is enjoying their success right now. And as long as they keep making these moves, and as long as we keep seeing this elite level of status on the playing field, Buffalo is going to be seen as a threat, not only in the AFC East, but the AFC in general. So Buffalo is already stacking up. So props to you, Buffalo. You may actually go on to challenge Cincinnati over the next few seasons for the AFC title. So well done, Buffalo.
I think Buffalo might make the Super Bowl next year. I mean,
They just
Buffalo
might.
is going all out, with these signings. I mean, that's a great win-win situation for not only for the Bills but for Von Miller. I mean, he goes to the Rams last year and helps out their defense, wins a Super Bowl last year with them. Now he goes to the Bills and he's going to make that defense even more of a threat because how great he is. He's been consistent throughout his entire career. As long as he's been healthy, Von Miller has been a threat to opposing offensive linemen and offensive players and quarterbacks. And I think this is a great move by Buffalo to sign him to a 6-year deal. It's not that much of a money hit because, again, the loophole, and it's a win-win situation for the Buffalo Bills. So good for you, Von Miller.
Yeah, he'll be making around $52 million through 2024 as part of that 6-year deal.
You know what? Von Miller, and let's just ignore that last defensive stand against Kansas City for a second. Last year, Buffalo in total defense ranked number 1. So you're going to put one of the best pass rushers of all time on an already stacked team, offense and defense. And Von Miller, and I'm going to talk football terminology for a second, he is a 3-4 linebacker. He plays in a 3-4 defense. That's where he thrives. But we've seen that he can adjust and play in a 4-3 defense as a defensive end, hence to what he did in L.A. It took him a couple games. He got used to it, but playing DN, he looked really good. So him being in Buffalo where they play a 4-3, playing a defensive end, along with Ed Oliver and Tremaine Edmonds, and got the corners and safeties to hold him down back there, that team's scary. But I also do want to throw out a name that Buffalo also signed real quick, and that was today they agreed to sign free agent Jamison Crowder, who is a very good slot receiver, I might add. He just got shitted by getting sent to New York Jets, obviously. And I also want to shout out to him because he actually graduated in my class where I played football, but he went to Monroe High School in North Carolina, which we unfortunately never got to play him. But he graduated with my class, and he played for Monroe and went on to play for Duke University. So shout out to Jamison Crowder. He deserves that money, big brother.
Good for him. And now his talents will flourish because he's been uncussed from the Jets.
Yes, sir.
Any talent won't flourish if you come from the Jets. But that's the whole story. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We got a lot to talk about, guys. Let's get into the final one of this NFL free agency, the big one of one of the biggest ones in my opinion, and that is, and we got to start off by saying this because that man signed that huge contract and it caused this issue. The only thing I gotta say is
you done messed up, Aaron.
the reason why I say
that soundbite never gets old.
Because of Aaron Rodgers signing that major deal that he did, that 3-year contract extension that gave him 130 some million guaranteed. Now they had to unfortunately cut Devontae Adams, but Devontae already has found a new home, and that is with Randy Giron's silver and black, the Oakland Raiders.
Vegas hits the jackpot.
Huge pick for Oakland there. They got the Raiders are gonna actually. What was the number on it? Do you guys have the number on that? Because I don't have it in front of me right now.
I can't think of it right off.
130 something million.
135, I think. Yeah, I think 135. Now that I think about it, 136,
130 million, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like 3 years for like $67.5 million is what I'm looking at. No, wait, I got it right here. 5 years, $141.25 million. With $67.5 million guaranteed.
Get you that money.
Yeah, he definitely deserves that money because on Green Bay, he was always a threat. That man has always been great in his position. Dude can go out there, he can get the ball. And especially when you have, and despite how much we rag on him and all the stuff rightfully deserving, is how good Aaron Rodgers is. And when you have a quarterback like that, and you're able to get out there and get those passes from him, and you're able to really, really showcase your talents, and that's what Devontae Adams did. And he deserves that kind of money. He deserves it for dealing all the bullshit with Aaron Rodgers the past fucking 2 years.
Yeah,
but exactly. Anyway,
go ahead.
I was gonna say exactly, and not to mention, just real quick, he is reunited with his college quarterback.
Yes, he is.
Yep, he's reunited.
Oh, yes, he is. Reunited, and it feels so good.
Okay, we're going to do that again. We're going to have to X-rate this show. Then we're going to get kicked off YouTube and instead put on another site that I won't say.
Wow.
That's what it's going to be like in Vegas, though, this year. I'm telling you.
My goodness.
But Randy, I was just going to say, why don't you start off? Because this is a big signing for you. Having a very high-touted wide receiver like that now part of your team, that's already a good team as it is. You're adding a stud to your team now. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, when the news first hit, I was stunned. I couldn't believe it happened. I'm just glad it did because of all the way other teams in the West and in the AFC are getting better by the day. They needed this move to happen just to even be relevant in the West. And they were a playoff team last year. And everybody was saying that they're just a receiver away. Well, this isn't just any receiver either. I mean, this guy is a stud, worth the money. Unlike like you were talking about the contract for Watson, this guy is worth it. He's proved that he is a major player in the NFL. And I was talking with Kevin about it. I mean, when he was with Carr at Fresno State, I mean, Madden type numbers, like unbelievable stuff. Carr threw for 50 touchdowns one year, 24 of them were to Adams. I mean, that was a long time ago. That was in college, but I don't know if that'll happen in the NFL, but it's going to translate well. And he's just taking that team just to another level. And Chandler Jones as well, signing with the Raiders. I mean, unbelievable. That defense needs to be improved vastly, and I think their new defensive coordinator will get them right, and they'll be formidable at least because they're going to need it, and with all the weapons that the Chargers have, and of course the Chiefs are always they'll be the Chiefs, but they're not going to be as great as they were. Like Kevin was perfectly put. They're not making the moves, and I'm thankful for it. And but all the teams like I said, in the AFC are getting better. Even the Browns. I mean, and Matt Ryan to the Colts. I really didn't say much, but they've had 7 quarterbacks in 7 years in Indianapolis. At least Matt Ryan's there. They signed him to a 2-year deal. I think he'll make it. He's going to be really. My cat is obviously happy about this too. He's going crazy. But man, what the hell's going on with that guy? I mean, yeah, it's gonna. This is gonna be such a wide open season. I mean, and it's a good thing that there's seven spots in the playoffs now too, because there's gonna be seven great teams from the AFC, and so only one's gonna come out of there. But man, it's gonna be a dogfight, and like I said, I'm just happy. I think. The Raiders, it's going to be a learning curve too. They got a new coach, a new defensive coordinator, and Carr. he's got to feel great. You know, got all these weapons, and Josh Jacobs was coming on at the end of the season as well. So it's gonna be great. I think. I would think it was a great move, even if I wasn't a Raiders fan. I'd be happy for him because Adams is a great teammate. He even penned a letter to Green Bay when he left. He didn't say what he wanted to say. Probably was a lot of expletives towards Mr. Rodgers, but I digress. But
left his neighborhood.
I left his neighborhood. Yes, that's right. Yes, but it's just gonna be exciting, and I don't think I've been as excited for the Raiders season for a long time. I mean, last year was so many ups and downs. The fact that they even made the playoffs was amazing. So it's just onward and upward. And I think there'll be major players this year, and it's going to be great to see.
Yeah.
When the Raiders are good, the NFL is good. I mean, it's a known fact.
That's debatable.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I mean,
here is the truth. When Adams left Mr. Rodgers and Green Bay, it was a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
He said, "No, I don't want to be your neighbor. Not your neighbor. Not your neighbor."
Goodbye, Rodgers. Or goodbye, neighbor.
Goodbye, neighbor.
Goodbye, neighbor.
Oh,
but what a great move for Vegas. I mean, this is a win-win situation. He finally gets what he deserves, a nice contract, not too much of a gamble with the contract, but it's a win-win for Adams. I mean, he deserves the money. That soundbite, Ezra, you played about Aaron Rodgers messing up, you damn right he did, because Aaron Rodgers got all that money, and Adams said, you just screwed with the money and screwed with the team. Oh, most importantly, I'm out of here. Yeah, adios, and out the door you went to Vegas, and it's a great move for Vegas. I mean, going back to play with his teammate and Derek Carr out of college, the reuniting of those two guys. I mean, they're going to be a threat to the NFL this upcoming season. I mean, the NFL season does not start until September, and it's already shaping to be another great football year come to fall.
Yep, definitely. I definitely agree with that. One little football note before we get out of here and head to the NCAA March Madness is it's not really evolved, but this year will be the final year of the commentating team of Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth.
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy.
Now there's a guy who's getting ready to leave the sports booth for now. But this will be the final year that Collinsworth and Michaels will be calling Sunday Night Football together. So end of an era. But
they were the best on TV.
What's up?
Yeah.
I want to bring something to you guys' attention just real quick. I actually just did a little bit of research on this on my own not too long ago.
Yeah.
But have you guys been following the fact that teams such as the Colts, the Eagles, and the Titans have all submitted proposals which will allow the overtime rules to be changed into saying that if it's passed by at least 24 of the 32 teams, the overtime rules will be changed to the fact that both teams, regardless of who scores the touchdown first in overtime, will get a chance at the ball. And honestly, that's been a long time coming because we've seen that for so many years. And honestly, I hope we have 24 good teams out there that make this overtime rule change and give all these teams a chance to at least respond to a touchdown in overtime.
I understand that, but come on. We're only doing this because the Bills and the Chiefs 4 years ago did not get a crack at the football when the Patriots and the Chiefs in both of those overtime games scored the game-winning touchdown. I understand that. But I don't know. I honestly don't like it. If your defense is that good, you stop them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But let's roll ahead. Let's get into NCAA March Madness. Why don't we? The Sweet 16 is set.
Man, what a great first weekend.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
definitely. Definitely real quick, the Sweet 16 setup is this, and that is on March 24th, which is Thursday. We'll have Arkansas versus Gonzaga, Michigan versus Villanova, Texas Tech versus Duke, and Houston versus Arizona. And then on the 25th, we'll have the Cinderella team right now of St. Peter's taking on Purdue, Providence taking on Kansas, North Carolina taking on UCLA, and Iowa State taking on the Miami Hurricanes. So those are your games set. Those are your games all set for the Sweet 16.
I'm telling you, I mean, if I was a member of the Kentucky Wildcat Nation, I would still be waking up with a sting right now, knowing that your powerhouse, literally a powerhouse-led team led by one of the greatest coaches in the history of college basketball fell to a team that has a roster that had none, I repeat, none of its players ranked in the ESPN 300 coming out of high school. That is the whole St. Peter's roster. That whole St. Peter's roster has no players who were ranked out of the ESPN 300 coming out of high school.
Fitting. Kentucky loses to a team called the Peacocks.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what?
Peacocks!
All I gotta say is all these experts all year been talking about how the SEC's taking over college basketball, the Pac-10, yada, 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 whatever.
Nope.
Ain't nothing better than the fucking ACC. I tell you that now. And I know
right.
Carolina and Duke hate each other, and I'm a Blue Devil all the way. But how about the ACC? 8-2 better than any other conference in the NCAA tournament with the UNC, Duke, and Miami Hurricanes all in the Sweet 16 in different regions. That's put some respect on the ACC because the ACC's ran college basketball since the 80s, and it ain't letting up still. So fuck the SEC. The ACC is where it's at. Go Devils.
Hey, the SEC may reign in football, but when it comes to basketball, you're right, Kevin. ACC is the one that's in charge.
Oh yeah.
But I kind of hate to bring this up, but my dad and I were actually talking on the phone about March Madness tournament yesterday, and we both brought up one point that we saw throughout the whole football season. The bad officiating.
Oh my God, the officiating in that North Carolina.
Yes, that North Carolina Baylor game. My God.
Horrible.
What
the hell?
I mean,
if Baylor would have won that game against the North Carolina Tar Heels, there would have been a freaking riot in that stadium. That was bullshit.
You better believe there would have been, because I bet you those officials before the game were like, okay, we all know Carolina's a great team, but Baylor is the defending national champion. So let's try to do everything we can to make sure that Baylor stays in this tournament after this game. Well, by golly, they sure went out and did it, because, oh my God, I cannot tell you how bad Facebook was blowing up in that game about the bad officiating. My God, I mean, we saw it in football. Are we going to see it in basketball now too?
Well, to be fair, it's happened already in the pros with the screw job, as far as when the Lakers beat the Kings in the 2002 Western Conference Finals in 7 games. But now in college, the fact that the referees were playing this game, basically betting on the game, going, oh, we have to have Baylor win the game. Why could you not call that game down the middle? Just like the Michigan State Spartans and the Duke Blue Devils on Sunday night. That was a great freaking basketball game between two great coaches, two great programs. Duke, in the end, ended up winning that game. The TCU Arizona game on Sunday night goes into overtime. And Arizona, the top seed in their region, somehow found a way to win the game. But the game was officiated the right way. Not this bullshit between Baylor and North Carolina on Saturday. I'm telling you, boys, if Baylor would have won that game, I know Kevin and I are Duke fans, but for the love of God, the referees' heads should have been examined if the Baylor would have won that game, because the officiating was the biggest crock of shit in God knows how long in college basketball.
And see, and what? I mean,
But you know what?
Go ahead, Kevin.
I think, you know what? On a good note, though, I thought it was pretty neat and really cool of the Duke fans after their win against Michigan State. They stayed over at the Miami game, and they gave Miami basically home court advantage by chanting ACC and getting real loud. They're pretty much helping Miami improve, move on, which that was pretty respectful for me, because that's neat as hell. Like, at the end of the day, we're rivalries, but we represent the ACC, and just to watch Duke get behind Miami like that to try to get them to the Sweet 16, that was big respect for me.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And the fact that the team that Miami beat was a team named Auburn. My gosh, I was on cloud nine, boys. Gosh, I was on cloud nine.
Yep.
Auburn's been overrated from the jump, in my eyes, just like Baylor was.
Absolutely, because whenever teams finally started to figure out Auburn's strategy, and whenever teams finally started to figure out that Bruce Pearl is not the big hotshot head coach that he thought he was going into the season, teams finally started to expose Auburn for who they really are, and they're frauds. And we saw a huge prime example of that when Miami kicked their fucking asses all over the court and beat them by 18 points. I love it. I love it.
And another game that also was very interesting this past weekend was the Memphis Tigers, when they took on who was it? They took on
Gonzaga.
Memphis, yes, thank you.
Memphis
was up by 14.
Got him.
Up by
Memphis
14, 15 points. And Gonzaga came back and won the game. I felt so bad for those kids in Memphis, man, because they played so hard in that game against the Bulldogs. I mean, Gonzaga was, they came back, won the game, because, in pressure situations, they've been in that type of environment and stuff. And Gonzaga just went out there, got the job done, but got to give props to the Tigers, man, because they played their hearts out. And, those kids wear their hearts on their sleeves, and I think Memphis will be back next year.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What makes this really impressive? What makes it really impressive about this tournament is there's no heavyweights. Like, there's no favorite.
Nope.
Gonzaga, obviously, we've seen it. They got a weakness that can be exposed. Every team has a weakness that has been exposed to this point. And because my boys, we done beat Kentucky by 10 early in the season. We done beat Gonzaga. No team is superior to any team in this tournament. I'm sorry. It's just that way. Carolina, who got beat by 36 against Miami, just went out and beat the defending champions. And I'm not a Carolina fan. I'm just going to leave that there. There's no team that has any kind of superiority over the rest of the tournament. Everyone's just about even.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's one thing with Duke this year that has me a little concerned. And I think the monkey is partially off the back because they did not win Coach K's final home game. And even though they would have loved that, but the fact that now that pressure is off them, they're in the tournament. And Michigan State could have won that game if the ball would have bounced their way. My biggest concern for Duke going further in this tournament, if they advance past the Sweet 16, going into the Elite Eight, if they make it to the next couple of rounds, can those kids, with the pressure on them, that Coach K's coaching career is in their hands? That is my biggest concern for Duke going further. Can those Duke kids on this team, with the pressure on them, can they rise to the occasion when the pressure is on the line. Now, clearly Sunday against Michigan State, they did. They made the right plays. They were only up by 1, and that critical three-pointer by Moore to put them up by 4, that was the critical shot of the game. And I think if those kids can keep their heads held high and not get the pressure onto them, I think they can go farther into the tournament and possibly win the championship in Coach K's final year. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
Well, Duke actually, and it's kind of concerning, but Duke actually lost their best player midway through that game in A.J. Griffin to a sprained ankle. So that's really concerning. At that point, they were winning 64-60. After he went out, Michigan State went on a 10-0 run and was up 70-64. Kind of concerning, but Duke finally collected themselves, got back in it when they think A.J. Griffin's going to be all right to play against Texas Tech. So that's always a plus. But here's the problem about Duke, and I, as a Duke fan, I've watched it. These one-and-dones are killing good college programs. Like Duke was a team, a dynasty basically, to go year in and year out. Elite Eight, Final Four. When they had those seniors like 2010, John Shire, Kyle Singler, Mason Plumlee. Then after that, it was the one-and-dones took over, and Kyrie Irving, Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram, all those guys that were just superstars, but they stay 1 year and then leave, and then it's like the rest of the team suffers for it. It's not fair, and I think it really bogs Coach K's coaching ability down, because like Kyrie played 3 games at Duke, basically 3 games, and he sat out the rest of the year because he knew he was going pro anyway. And it just kills the game of basketball. Kentucky was the same way. They had all that star power, and being freshmen is what really fucked that Kentucky team up in 2015. Yep. Remember, they had that squad that went undefeated all year, but because they were freshmen, they couldn't handle the pressure against an experienced senior team like Wisconsin when they had Frank Kaminga and stuff and company, or Frank Kaminsky, and they had them boys and company. They couldn't handle the pressure because they were freshmen. And that's what screws teams like Kentucky. That's what screws them up every year. Kansas got teams like that. Duke, Carolina. It's these 5-star talented freshmen that go there that you're just a freshman. You don't know what you need to know about the game of basketball yet. They're not like a senior who has leadership capabilities, like the intangibles. And it really hurts programs like that.
That's a great point, Kev, because think about it. When Duke won those championships in 2010 and 2001, they had the experience of those players on those squads. Carlos Boozer, Shane Battier, all of those guys, hell, even the teams 25, 30 years ago with Grant Hill and Christian and all the, them. I mean, my God. When you have seniors and, juniors on your team, they know what it's like to play in the tournament. When you are a freshman, you are basically a rookie, and you are a rookie. You're a rookie, a rookie to the program. And that is the biggest concern that I have for Duke and for Carolina going further into this tournament, is you have a lot of young kids that have never experienced what it's like to be in the biggest dance, the biggest one-and-done tournament in any sport. One game can cost you, or one game can make you be successful. It's one and done. You get no second chance. Kentucky, all those freshmen in 2015, I remember where I was at. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings in there checking out the game, and everybody was betting on Kentucky going, oh, they're going to win. I said Wisconsin's probably going to beat them. No. Because Wisconsin had the experience that Kentucky never did. The reason why Kentucky won the championship in 2012 is because they had the experience on that team. This is what's been hurting these college programs. You have to have experience on your team to go further into the tournament.
You couldn't have said it better myself, Stephen. And
exactly,
my thing is, I wish the NCAA would take a note out of college football. The way I propose a rule change I propose that you can either enter the draft straight out of high school. I don't like Kobe and Kevin Garnett, guys like that. I agree with that.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I also propose the rule that if you do elect college, you must stay there at least 3 years, like college football. You
Agreed.
must be a rising junior
Agreed.
to be able to go
Thank
into
you.
the NFL or the NBA.
I
I mean, it would
definitely
help
agree
the
with that.
NCAA tournaments if you have 3-year players under guys like Coach K, John Calipari, like all those Bill Self, all those guys. Like you would have great coaching with players who are mature and getting older. It would be so much fun to see a
Think
Kentucky
about it.
team like that versus a Duke like that. That's all I'm saying about it.
Think about it, Kev. Kyrie Irving goes to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2012 in the draft. And he's not successful for the first couple of years because he hasn't had the experience that he should have had if he would have stayed in Duke. Austin Rivers hits the biggest shot of his life in Duke against UNC. And everybody was touting him. Oh, he's great. Okay, he was great in Duke, but he goes to the pros. And what the hell has he done? Nothing, especially for his first couple of years in the pros. Did not do
I tell you a
squat.
player. Hey, Steven, I'll tell you a player who succeeded after staying so many years.
Tell me.
Seth Curry played all 4 years at Duke, and now Seth Curry is a key piece to that Brooklyn Nets team.
Yup.
I'm just saying.
Yup.
Hey, and you know what, guys? I'm going to give y'all one other name who, coming out of high school, was an absolute stud in college, and now he's done nothing with the NBA but sit on the bench due to an injury. And that, of course, is Mr. Zion Williamson.
Yup.
Right.
What the
You
hell?
know what?
I mean,
Here's you another one.
Zion Williamson played that 1 year at Duke, and he was an absolute stud. He gets drafted to the Pelicans, and what does he do? He sits on the bench because he can't stay healthy to save his life. He's only played 85 out of 226 possible games. I mean,
You know what?
Right. Go ahead.
That's the point. And you know what? Here's another name for you. He's finally doing good now, but Duke stud and their arguably best player from 2 years ago, R.J. Barrett. When he went to the Knicks his first year, he was atrocious. This year, now that he's 3 years post-college, he's finally entering to be a stud. He's grown. He's knows the game. He's getting really good for New York. He dropped 47 about a month and a half ago.
Yep.
And I mean, he's coming to his own. And I'll tell you another name who left college after 1 year. And guess what? He's one of the biggest busts. And his name is Cam Reddish, also played with Zion because he came into college as a 5-star player. And when he went to the pros, he played on the Hawks for 1 year, didn't do squat, and they traded his ass. Now he's on the Knicks doing nothing for the Knicks.
Excellent point. And that's the biggest problem because I remember 2 years ago or 3 years ago when Duke and Zion and Williamson and them were in the tournament especially against Michigan State. The reason why Duke lost that game is because, I wonder why. Oh, the freshman problem.
Experience.
Yeah, the freshman problem. Yep. The freshman problem got to Duke, not Coach K, the kids on the team.
Nope.
Sure. Now, if they would have stayed a couple of more years, maybe Duke would have won another championship by now. That's the problem with these kids is they think that they can be like the late, great Kobe Bryant or Kevin Garnett and go straight out of their freshman year, to or high school year, even though they're not doing the high school stuff anymore, but essentially like out of high school and go into the pros and be successful. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, LeBron has a lot to do with that too.
Yeah, there's such thing as generational talent, and it only comes like once or twice every couple years. Guys like Trae Young, he done it, and he could do it. He went in, played 1 year, went to pros, and balled out. Everybody else had to develop. Here's another one for you, Steven. Jason Tatum. At Duke, he was decent. He was average. His first 2 years in the league, he was average. This year right here, he is a top 5 MVP candidate for the Boston Celtics.
Dropping 50-point-plus games easily all freaking year. He's been killing it.
Easily.
Why?
He had to develop. That's
for
what
3 to 4 years. Past college.
All right, let's go ahead and I can't wait for this tournament. This Sweet 16 is going to be awesome. There's going to be some great games coming up. Check them out wherever you can watch them. Should be really, really good tournament. By the way, just as a stat note, there are only 6 perfect brackets left in the entire world right now.
Yeah, I got one. Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah, because
actually,
the Peacocks beat Kentucky.
Actually, where did you get that stat? Because the last I heard, there wasn't a single perfect bracket left.
Oh, the other day I heard there was 6, and that was after St. Peter's destroyed Kentucky and busted millions of other brackets. But anyways, moving forward on that, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of let's go ahead and get the baseball talk out of the way. Quickly, the Blue Jays have announced a deal with newly acquired third baseman Matt Chapman. He'll get a 2-year, $25 million deal that'll put him there at Toronto through the 2022 and 2023 seasons, and they'll pay him $12 million each of the next 2 seasons with a $1 million signing bonus. So that's good right there. I think this was changed before the this was actually done before after we went off the air, and that was Freddie Freeman. Let's talk about that.
Oh yeah, that deal has Joey scratching his head for sure.
Yeah, Joey, I know you got a thing to say about it. What are your thoughts on the whole Freddie Freeman deal?
You know, in the end, I'm sour about it. I mean, yeah, I wanted Freddie Freeman to be the next Chipper Jones because I wanted him to stay in Atlanta for his entire career. But honestly, I think the real losers of the whole situation was definitely Atlanta because I did some research in regards to the Freddie Freeman contract situation, and I found out that it was the Braves organization itself, not Freddie Freeman, who said, you know what? We got so much faith in Matt Olson, we're just going to let Freddie Freeman walk. Because keep in mind that the Atlanta Braves turned down not 1, but 2 offers from Freddie Freeman's agents. One was a 5-year, $140 million deal, and the other one was a 6-year, I think it was like $175 million deal. But he ultimately goes to LA for 6 years, $162 million, while we signed Matt Olson after trading for him for 8 years, $168 million. Now, obviously, I don't know much about this Matt Olson kid because, well, he played for the Oakland Athletics for so long, and the Oakland A's were always down around the bottom cellar of baseball because they didn't have any good playmakers. So, yeah, I don't know about this Matt Olson kid just yet, but one thing that I will say is I don't like the fact that he's on the Dodgers now. I really don't like it, but I'm not going to be sour on the guy because he gave us so many great seasons wearing that Atlanta baseball uniform, so many great plays at first base, so many awesome hits, so many game-clinching moments that he gave us. So, yeah, I'm not going to be sour about Freddie Freeman going to L.A., and I wish him the best of luck in L.A. Now, I'm not going to start pulling for the Dodgers, obviously, but I'm still going to pull for Freddie Freeman because Freddie Freeman, even though he's joined our crosstown rivals now, I'm still going to wish him the best of luck, and he has earned my respect. So, Freddie, props to you, my man.
And he
Hope you
won
have
the
a
World
great-
Series.
and he won us a World Series. So, Freddie, have a good time in LA, and hopefully we'll see you back in Atlanta sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it on the baseball news. Let's go ahead and get into a quick 2 MMA news notes, and then we're going to go to basketball. Quickly, former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen is going to be charged with 11 counts of battery, including felony battery by strangulation over an incident in December where he was he allegedly used force of violence upon a woman by punching, striking, and pushing her, and then he punched several other people in the face and strangled another.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's being charged with 11 different counts, and of course ESPN has announced that they are suspending, that they have, not really, not quote unquote suspended, but they have pushed jail stuff off their programs until further notice, until these charges all are put together, until they look at it a little bit more. So, Chael's in a lot of trouble here on this one.
I will say though,
so.
it kind of reminds me of another UFC fighter. You guys might know him. His name is John Bones Jones.
Yeah. Not a good move on his end. No, not good at all.
And we know from Chael Sonnen in the past on how he's got a big mouth. And
yes, he's a great talker.
Yeah. Another big another incident in the MMA world is there was an alleged dust up between two guys who don't legitimately like each other, and that is the two men who faced off in the most recent big fight, Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. They had a little bit of a scrimmage outside of a Miami Beach restaurant, and now Jorge is being suspected of felony battery.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I just heard that they had fought outside. I didn't hear that charge. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So he supposedly that some person came out to police and said that he was attacked by Masvidal and got punched in the face. Yeah, and so one punch to his left eye, one punch to the mouth. So now I guess he's filing for felony battery against the BMF champion.
Man.
So things just get more and more crazy in that whole saga between Colby and Jorge.
Dana White, I'm keeping those two guys separated from each other as far as fighting, on pay-per-view. Even though it'll make you money, but if I'm him, I'm staying away from those two guys because they clearly do not like each other.
UFC's needs some good press. Last couple of weeks, man. This stuff with Masvidal and Sonnen, and then what was it? 2 weeks ago? Who was it? I can think of the fighter that beat up the guys. I can't remember his name. You had talked about it last week.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember the name off the top of my head.
The guy that trained to be a wrestler.
Oh.
What is his name?
What is his name?
Come on.
Yeah.
Trained to be a wrestler.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about.
I know.
It starts with a C. His name starts with a C.
It's not Colby Covington because
No. It's that heavyweight that beat Lesnar.
Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez. Yeah.
Yeah, he's in jail.
Yep,
he had all that
stuff.
No bail, and he's still. So, they're in. They got to do something to freshen up their image, man. Because that's sucks. What's that?
But in Cain Velasquez's storyline, it makes me wonder if what allegedly said happened was actually the truth. I mean, if he was really going after the guy who raped a little girl that was in his family or something like that, then I feel for Cain Velasquez because if that would have been my little girl that he raped, then I would definitely shoot their butts too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't play with another man's family.
No, of course not.
And I wouldn't stop at the shooting. I actually would stop until they were dead in the ground. For one thing.
Sure. But hasn't been a good look for the UFC.
It hasn't.
No. Every other sport has been shining almost. Baseball has a lot of had a lot of big signings. The Freddie Freeman thing, Carlos Correa, big signing going to the Twins of all teams.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so people have forgotten that baseball may not even started on time or had been delayed. And then of course the NFL with all the crazy talk and the free agency stuff and
the college basketball tournament kicking into
tournament,
high gear.
and the NBA is always hot.
Yep.
With their stuff that's going on there. So UFC is really got
they're in a lot of trouble.
They're in a lot of trouble, and
image wise, yeah.
I think they'll be okay, but man, for right now, it's not looking good.
Yeah.
Not looking good.
Not. But let's quickly get into baseball since we only got a few minutes left before the end of the show. Or basketball, I mean. Let's go quickly get into that, and that is a couple big news notes. Mainly just a lot of fines and incidents recently. Really, if my page will load. Thank you very much, piece of shit. First off, well, real quick, the good news though is that of course Isaiah Thomas continues his trend of signing with teams for 10-day contracts, and now he's signed with the Hornets for the rest of the season.
Oh, that's
good for him.
Good stuff. I've been watching them. He's been doing great.
Yeah, Isaiah Thomas has been playing. I was playing great. Hopefully he'll find an actual permanent home next season.
Yep,
be nice.
Hey,
what?
We'll take him in Charlotte all next season because he's been doing great for us. So we'll take him.
Favoritism. Let's go with the favoritism. Yeah. By the way, it's favoritism, just like the Commanders. But then again, the Commanders are all going to be privates after they get destroyed.
Yep.
Ooh.
I'm just joking. They're not the Cowboys. But anyways, yeah. Well, they could be the Panthers, but I digress.
Yeah.
Portland center Yusuf Nurkic has been fined $40,000 for throwing a fan's phone into the stands.
Oof.
Whoa!
Wow.
Yep.
You know what? I got something to say real quick about that, Ezra.
Oh boy.
Okay, go ahead, man.
At first, okay, when Westbrook did it, and it happened back a couple years ago, I thought the players were just being whining, crying little babies. But when I start doing some research, some of these stuff that these fans say is absolutely absurd, and there's no room for it in the game of basketball or as a spectator or anything. And those fans should be fucking banned from any NBA game ever again, because some of those things they say are absolutely, as a grown man, I know I would have done more than what Nurkic did, because they said that the man's grandma was a bitch who just passed away last year due to COVID. That they said that they wishes his mom would die. Me personally, I wouldn't just throw the phone in the fans. I'd punch the guy in his fucking face. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Then the incident with LeBron, who got the fans kicked out, and everybody was picking on LeBron about that. And I don't like LeBron, but in his defense, you come at me about my kid and say you hope my kid gets into a car crash. Come on, man. That is ridiculous. There's no room for this shit in that sport, man. These fans are getting more and more and more ridiculous. You know why? Because the league lets them get away with it. Oh, he could say that about Nurkic, but guess who's the one that gets fined? Nurkic. We're finding you. Nothing happens to the fans. It's bullshit, and Kevin,
man. It's not just in sports. Ezra knows this too.
No.
It's not just in sports. It's also in professional wrestling. Because you have these idiots that run their mouths because they paid their hard-earned money. Just because you go to a live show does not mean you get to dictate or say whatever you want at an athlete or performer. When you go to a concert, just because you paid your hard-earned money, you do not dictate what you say to the band or the artist. Because if a band sees you fighting in a crowd, guess what they gonna do? They gonna kick your ass out of the concert. Bye. Get the hell out of here. Take your bags and don't let the door hit you in the ass. Don't, or as we would say, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Come on. Don't let you hit the door, hit you in the ass on the way out, because If you think you can go to a concert or go to any event and run your mouth to any athlete, musician, or wrestler, you're out of your freaking mind. The NFL, the NBA, baseball, hockey, you name it, they need to start cracking down on these idiotic fans that think they can sit there and run their mouths. Now, granted, look, we sit here and we pick on LeBron all day long.
Yeah.
But this is reality. You're not going to sit there and run your mouth about a man's kid.
No.
Or,
and you know what?
And Nurkic's grandmother, or, you know, who passed of COVID. I mean, that is a bunch of garbage. I mean,
that's ridiculous, man.
I mean, I feel for these players.
You know what, Steven? I will say this, and this will be my last thing. There's one thing in common that these professional wrestlers, professional athletes, all of them have one thing in common. And this is why you're right. Just because you spend your money on going to watch somebody or something, you know what? These athletes, these professional wrestlers, these bands, they take time. They sacrifice time away from their family. They spend so much time on the road. They put their bodies on the line to entertain you to spend your money.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous. You don't get the audacity to come into the stands and run your mouth and talk so much shit face to face. And then the athletes or the wrestlers, they're the ones that get punished, not the fans. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that bothers me from a musician standpoint, you got these fans that go to these concerts, and I know we're going off on a tangent. I'm going off on a tangent here, but you had these fans that get so butthurt and pissed off when a band is up there playing a song, and it's a song where they go into like an extended solo part. And I saw a video on YouTube, and I respect the people's opinion, but they're like, "Oh, I don't like these long guitar." As a matter of fact, it was Slash and the concert that I went to, and they were like, "Oh, I don't like these long guitar solos." Well, if you looked at the footage that Slash and them have done in the footage, there is going to be songs where he does those long guitar solos. If you don't like it when a band does an extended guitar solo or whatever, or don't like what they play, then don't even go. Because
Steven, here's an even better example of fans being assholes and not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that was the Warrior Wrestling event recently with Thunder Rosa and Athena. There was a fan there who was chanting racial slurs and making comments towards Athena, talking about her quote-unquote weave and talking about how's your weave staying on and all this shit, making those types of comments.
And Thunder and Athena wanted him kicked out.
Other shows, there were fans at other shows too, not just Warrior Wrestling. They were making like moaning noises when the women were grabbing onto each other and grappling. GCW, another example. Some of the fans were doing that. We're doing that, making sexualized comments towards like Alley Catch or Dark Sheik or whoever. And it's ridiculous. If you're there to pay a ticket, you're there to do that type of stupid shit. You need to figure out another way to spend your money. And to me, when it comes to that, women like Alley Catch, women like Dark Sheik, they need to come out there and whoop their ass and not get in trouble by the cops.
Alley Catch is one tough woman. Exactly. Yeah. And that bothers me so much. I mean, you know, as a musician, as a performer, if you don't like what an athlete, a band, or, you know, whatever decides to do with their show, it is not up to you to dictate what that person does. I mean, because, you know, you'll have these fans that go to wrestling events, that go to concerts, and they're like, "Oh, I wanted to see that match. Or I wanted to hear that song." It is not up to you to dictate what these performers do with their shows. I mean, come on. Absolutely. I mean, you know, and it's like we can keep going on and on and on about these idiotic fans, because ever since fans have been coming back to sporting events, to concerts, and all that good stuff, the fans have forgot how to be a fan.
Yeah,
I mean, because you got idiots out there, you know, at the, you know, like last year, you know, with the Travis Scott concert in Houston, just being completely pieces of shit, you know, not watching people going down. When I was in Daytona last year, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Slipknot, but I cannot stand their fan base, because their fan base does not give a shit about people that is in front of them, because they're over there pushing and shoving on other people, including me. You know, "Oh, we're trying to get to the VIP tent." Well, so were we, because that's where we wanted to go. And you're trying to push and you're shoving. That is not a good thing, to push and shove to people when you're in a huge crowd like that. When you're at a sporting event, it is not good to push and shove against people at a game or whatever like that. People need to learn. When the hell are people going to learn to have some respect for your fellow man and woman at these events?
I agree. I definitely agree with that, Steven. But let's get back on track since we're at the end of the show here. That was great. Though. I'm glad we got that out there. But I want to do some more quick news notes before we go because we're just at the end of the show. And that is that Draymond Green was fined $25,000 for directing profane language towards an official. Another fine there. Another one for you. Julius Randle fined $40,000 for directing hostile language towards a game official.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, he's fine.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's right there alone. It's $65,000, and if you add the shit involving Nurkic, dude, that's $105,000 in fines.
That's a lot of money.
Yep, that is. And then remember we talked about a week or two ago the Jonathan Isaac, the one who's been recovering for the past 26 months. Well, unfortunately, he suffered a major setback, but not his ACL. He injured his hamstring, and now has to go under surgery for that.
Oof!
So his recovery is not going to back even further. So, all the best to Jonathan Isaac in his recovery from that now as well. That's pretty much rules the end of the show. Let's do our usual final comments, our final thoughts. Randy, you first, buddy.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, hey, great show tonight, guys. Is this going to be better from here? Talking about all these great moves that are made. There's still a lot more free agents out there to sign and come to different teams, and just a great show, great insight, and as always, thanks for having me.
Always. All right, Joe.
Amazing show with you guys tonight. I love getting on here and talking sports with you guys. And I'm just ready to see what another week of free agency will bring us because I'm sure we're going to see some more free agent
it's
moves.
just getting started, baby.
And I'm going to wrap up with this one last little statement. The madness is also getting started in the tournament because we are down to 16 teams. After this weekend, we will be down to 4. We're going to be down to 4 teams after Sunday's Elite 8 games. So the madness is just beginning in free agency, and the madness is just beginning in the college basketball tournament. So I'm ready for another week. Let's go.
All right, Kevin.
It was another great show with you guys, and good talk on the football and the basketball and MMA and the fans at the end and March Madness. I'm just interested to see what the rest of the week and the weekend brings after March Madness. And with the NFL, more news is going to be on the way, of course. It seems like every day now, 1 or 2 notes have been popping up from the NFL. Yeah. And I just look forward to it. And it's been a great show.
Absolutely. Steven, you know the drill.
As always, great show with you guys. It's always fun coming on here and talking sports and, cutting up and all that good stuff. And just a great all-around show talking about football and the college basketball tournament, and the MMA news and the NBA. But most of all, just talking about these fans. I mean, at the end, that got very passionate, and
yeah.
What people just be good to each other. Be nice to one another. Don't say nothing hateful to people because you never know. You never know when that could be your last day. Just be kind to each other. Be good to people. Treat people with respect. Don't say nothing harmful. And, as always, great show with you guys. And you can follow us on Twitter at Owen_Sports Show, Facebook.com/Nation Sports Show, Nation's Corner. On Twitter at Nation's Corner, everywhere else, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, it is at The Nation's Corner. And man, We said it at the top of the hour, but once again, as always, congratulations to the new AEW Women's World Champion, La Mera Mera Thunder Rosa, beating Britt Baker in a steel cage match this past Wednesday in San Antonio in her hometown. And shout outs to Front Row and Tony and Shannon. They were there in attendance live in San Antonio to witness history and to have a great damn time watching a great show in AEW and getting to witness history and just creating memories. And, you know, and I had a great time this past Saturday at the Slash show. And, you know, just, it's been awesome getting back into going to shows and going to concerts and wrestling. And man, we're just a week and a half away basically until WrestleMania. And we know some of our friends are going to be down there. Christina, Dev and Seth and Tony and Trenda, Chad. You know, it's going to be wild, man, you know, and just Mania's kicking into high gear, you know, and just Mission Pro with the collective and GCW, what they got going on, and Bloodsport. I mean, just it's a great, as Travis Tritt would say, it's a great day to be alive, folks, because sports and concerts and all this great stuff, it's happening. And as always, great show with you guys. And with that being said, Ezra, wrap this bad boy up, my friend.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much, everybody here, for being on the show with me. Of course, as always, I love doing this. Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to everybody who's commented. Thank you to all the people who are going to watch this later. We appreciate your support. Please like, subscribe, and get us to that 100 subscriber mark so we get that custom URL.
We're getting close, slowly but surely.
Yes, we are. Definitely. Also, definitely Nation's Corner this weekend, Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern on youtube.com/Nation's Corner. We'll be talking everything wrestling from Raw and SmackDown and AEW this week, Rampage. And of course, you know, definitely want them to talk about the big announcement that was announced for GCW, Joey Janela's spring break. Alley Catch will take on none other than Mickey James, and it's going to be a badass bout. We can't wait for them to talk about that. But we got to close this bad boy out. So for Randy Giron, for Joseph Thornton, for Stephen Wyand, and for Joseph Thornton, for all of the guys who are on here, I am Ezra Vickery, and we will see you next week for another great edition of our Nation Sports Show. Take care, everybody, and have a great weekend. Peace.
Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up. Turn me up.